Okay, so we are going to analyze the persuasive article from last week that you see in front of you for author's craft. And we are going to focus on these three things: word choice, sentence structure, and organization. So let's look at word choice first. So I'm going to scroll down. There's a couple of parts where I have noted a particular word. So here's the first word that I wanted us to look at, the word delusional. So this is kind of a fancy word, right? Delusional just means crazy. And if we want to look up some synonyms for that word, like let's say in your essay or in your paragraph, you want to look up some fancier words and get some fancier words, you can go to Merriam-Webster.com. And once you're in Merriam-Webster, you can click on the source button right here, and you can type your word. And it's going to give you some synonyms here. And you can take a look at these and pick one that you like and that you would want to put in your essay. Just make sure that whatever you choose, that it matches the context of what you're talking about in your essay. So just make sure that it fits. Like read it aloud in your sentence. Okay, so that is a way that you can do word choice. That's how you can do word choice. Now let's look at the second thing, which is sentence structure. So I have here some graphic organizers, some pictures of some common sentence structures. And I have noted those in the article. So for example, you might have a sentence, a comma, and then a closer. You might have an opener, a comma, and a sentence. You might have something interrupting a sentence. You might have what's called an awubis phrase, where the sentence starts with one of these words, has a comma, and then you have your full sentence after it. Or, of course, one I hope you've all heard of before, which would be fanboys. So you have a sentence, fanboys, which would be for, and, nor, but, or, yet so, and then another sentence after that. So let's take a look at some of these really quickly in the persuasive article. So right here, you can see that I have identified an opener, right? So you've got this opener, to its detractors, comma, love at first sight, and then you have the whole sentence. Here is an example of a sentence with an interrupter. So you've got this first part of the sentence here, comma, they say, comma, and then the rest of the sentence. So you could actually take out this interrupter and still have a sentence. Buy into it and you're a fool. So they just added this interrupter into that sentence. That's just a writing technique. Okay, some other sentence structures. Here's an awubis phrase one right here. If, starting with if. So here's if as an awubis phrase. Starts with if. If you find yourself smitten, da 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 da, comma, and then the rest of the sentence. And then this last one here is an example of a sentence with a closer. So you've got the whole sentence in front, but I would argue that for the best guidance, comma, and then you have the closer. Okay, so those are some examples of sentence structure that you can add to your own essay when you are going back and revising. You can look for examples where you have something similar to one of these structures. Or if you have a bunch of sentences that all look the same, maybe you have a lot of little short sentences, or maybe you have several really, really long sentences with no commas or no periods, then you should take a look at the sentence structures that you see here and revise and change your paragraph so that you have a variety of sentence structures. If you're not sure how to do this, please ask your teacher during live sync time or share your essay with your teacher and ask for guidance. Okay, the last thing that we're going to look at real quick, because we actually talked about this last week with this particular article, is the organization. So you might be looking at organization with CER, which is the claim, the evidence, and the reasoning, or your teacher might be using ACEs, which is answer, cite evidence, explain, and summarize. So no matter what you're using, the basic format, you can see in this article that they follow that format. So in your essay, you want to do something similar. So for example, it starts out with a hook by talking about this pop culture reference from The Office. Then they've got sort of an implied position here where they indicate that they're going to be arguing for the existence of love at first sight. Then down here in this first paragraph about science, they've got a claim, they've got evidence, and then they've got their explanation and reasoning. Okay, and at the bottom of the science paragraph, I want to draw your attention to this really quickly, is they have a nice way that they transitioned into the next piece of evidence here. So they talk about the science, they kind of recap the science, regardless of whether chemical reactions exist. So he recaps that, and then he reminds you, the reader, of the purpose of his essay, which is, does love at first sight exist? And that was a nice transition into his next main piece of evidence, which is the Shakespeare one. So again, he has his claim, his evidence with the Romeo and Juliet, and then his explanation or reasoning where he explains how that evidence ties back to his claim and his kind of position, which is that love at first sight exists. So that is some author's craft analysis of the Persuasive article. Please check with your teacher if you're confused about how to incorporate these elements of word choice and sentence structure and organization into your own essay.